Alright, I'm here with another Destiny 2 video. I love talking about Destiny 2 even though I don't think my Destiny 2 videos get any views on my channel, but whatever. The reason I want to make this video, I'm going to title it something about a 1KD makes glorious. By the way, I'm really old. I kind of don't want to say how old, but I'm pushing 50 years old, to be honest. I'll just get it out there. So everything I say in this video, you have to take in that lens that I'm not very good at PvP. And I don't know how much of it is because I'm not good at PvP and how much of it is because I'm old. And I don't have any reaction time anymore. So that's just to sort of excuse why I'm not very good. I don't know if I was 20, if I would be good, or if I'm just naturally not good, or how much of it is age related. But I haven't really seen anybody good at this game past the True Vanguard is really good at it, and he's at 35, I think he said. But that's still a heck of a lot of difference to my age. You know, it's dang near 15 years difference. And so I don't know. I think he's 35. He said his age in a recent video. He's really good. He's over a 2KD, but yeah. So I remember there was a dude on Twitter who was like 40 plus talking about he made Unbroken, and I looked him up. He was using a bow a lot. His KD wasn't that much higher than mine. It was like 1.2, but somehow he won a lot of his games, and I've never been able to maintain a win rate more than like 40%. I'm not sure how he did it, but you know, you could say I'm a bad teammate or whatever. I don't know. He was using a bow, and so he was being like a poison bow, I think, La Monarch maybe or whatever. Maybe that helped him by taking the other guys out of the fight a lot or something. I don't know how he did it. And I don't think he used a team he did it in freelance. That's another thing. Of course, if you have a good team, you have two good teammates, it's going to make you look a million times better, you know. I mean, that happened in quick play yesterday. It was funny because I got in this game where this guy seemed like he was freaking Frostbolt. He was just slaying out, and I couldn't take him in any one-on-one. It seemed like he was winning everything. And then he like teabagged me, I think, or emoted me once. That always sets me off. I'm extremely petty about getting teabagged or emoted after somebody kills you. And the funny thing was, in his team, but it was mostly all randoms. It was in just quick play, but it was like nobody was really. He wasn't in like a 6-stack or anything. I think he had one dude with him, but mostly it was all just singles in this lobby, a couple teams of 2 or whatever. But so then, yeah, it looked like he was just the best player in the world. And he teabagged me, and then the next match, I matched him again, as often happens. And, but this time, like, my team was stronger, so all of a sudden, it's like, he lost all his power, he was getting, you know, he all of a sudden became like an ordinary player instead of like this incredible player. And it was all just because, you know, it's based on the strength of your teammates. On the one side, he was on the much stronger side, so he seemed unbeatable. And this time his side was the weaker side, so it's like I was killing him. I had a higher KD than him in the match. I killed him a couple times and started teabagging or emoting and stuff because I remembered the last match he had emoted me. And then it was really hilarious because he quit out. Freaking baby. But yeah, I thought, just it goes to show how much a team matters. And they weren't even a team, it was just his randoms were a lot stronger the first game, so he looked unbeatable. And then his randoms were a lot weaker the second game, so all of a sudden he was getting stomped on. He was the same player either way. But anyways, that was all. I don't know why I go on these stupid tangents all the time. That's why my videos are so long. But anyways, yeah. So I'm a 1KD. I'm like a 1.06 to be specific in Valor, and I'm like a 0.87 in Glory and/or Comp, whatever it's called now. And I'm like around that 0.8 something in Trials. Which granted, I was going to trials freelance, which is extremely difficult nowadays. Especially if you go into a non-freelance week. I don't really play trials much, but if you go on a non-freelance week, you're screwed. But anyways, in your freelance, in your solo. But anyway, so they brought this new Crucible title out recently, which as you can see up here, I've got called Glorious. Now they've had Unbroken and Flawless titles for a long time, and Iron Lord, and I spend all my time in Crucible. I love it. PvE is just a means to an end to me. I like PvE sometimes, but I'm Crucible main through and through. It's what I love to do in the game. But I was never good enough to get either Unbroken or Flawless. And I don't have a team. I'm a very loner type person. I never play with anybody in the game ever. There's like one guy on my friends list that I like. I add a lot of people. Like we'll do an LFG raid. Everybody will get along good. We smoke the raid or whatever. When I used to raid, I don't even raid anymore. And I would add everybody if it had good vibes, and you just feel good after a nice raid that you kick butt on, whatever. But I never ever play with any of those people again. So I've got people on my friends list, but I never play with any of them. There's like one guy I know on my friends list barely, and I haven't played with him since like D1 really, and I probably played with him twice. But I liked him, so he's real weird, kind of autistic or something. But I really like him. I don't know why. But anyways, so I keep him on my friends list, but that's about, like, just to say that I don't really play with anybody in the game. It's solo all the time. So, anybody. I'm talking about anybody. I mean, what I do is I just LFG up for stuff that I can't matchmake. I just use Xbox. Since I'm on Xbox Series X, I just use Xbox's built-in looking for group feature. That's it. Anyways, and I hate to use that. I try to solo everything I can. I mean, I won't solo a dungeon or anything because it's too much of a pain in the ass, but I don't really play much PvE unless I really need a weapon or something or whatever. So I don't do it for pinnacles. I just get all the solo pinnacles or the ones you can no mic LFG. Anyways, point being, so I saw this new title, Glorious, and like I said, I always as a Crucible guy, I always wanted the Crucible titles, right? I'm not good enough to get them. I definitely had no chance at Flawless because I'm not very good myself, and one of the Flawless requirements is to carry someone who hasn't been Flawless 3 separate times, I believe. There's no chance because I'm not very good. If you figure the person who's not Flawless isn't very good, then you've got 2 not very good players, and that's even if I could find anybody to do it with. I've only been Flawless twice in my whole life, put it that way. Once was in Destiny 1, and it was pretty much a straight carry. Basically, a couple teenage kids that were good carried me. And I think I LFG'd for a carry just because I wanted to go Flawless. And then once in Destiny 2, which was a little bit less of a carry, but still kind of a carry. I mean, it wasn't meant to be a carry. I just LFG'd for trials. And the guys happened to be pretty good. I mean, we weren't all world beaters, of course. And I was like probably the worst player in the group, but it wasn't like a strict carry, but we ended up going Flawless. A lot of it's just luck of the draw, but it's really hard now, I feel like, because everybody left in the game is so good. But anyway, so I've only been Flawless twice. And I think the main troublesome requirements for Flawless are like going Flawless on 6 different maps, and then they'll carry somebody to 3 Flawless. Like, neither one of those is happening for me. Carry someone who's never been Flawless to Flawless 3 separate times. Both of those are just way out of my reach. I don't like trials. I'm not good at it. Generally, I don't like any competitive or sweaty 3v3. I love quick play. If I say I love Crucible, I love quick play. 3v3 is very stressful for me. I've never liked it. I have to try to have the correct mindset that it's alright to lose. Like, stop stressing. It's okay. It doesn't matter. Because I get too tense and I don't enjoy it. Either comp or trials. Well, anyways, so I've always looked longingly at the Unbrokens and the Flawless, and man, if that could be me one day, but I'm not really good enough. I'm kind of good a little bit sometimes. Sometimes I can slay in quick play. Maybe I could, no, I could never get those. When Iron Lord came, so I always talked for years that we needed another title that like it shows that you love Crucible and play Crucible a lot, but that you don't have to be like a top 1% player to get. So I feel like you have to be a top 1% to get Flawless and Unbroken. But or at least I'd say top 10% anyway. And you have to have a good team. That's the other thing. And I don't have any regular team. So yeah, I mean it's possible to get maybe those titles otherwise, but very difficult. They were trying to tell me. I inquired on Reddit about if like can a low KD basically get Unbroken, and they were saying you can, but I think they were lying. I never really saw any evidence of that. But yeah, so and most Unbroken and Flawless players are pretty good. Although a lot of them are not. That's what's funny. They're probably all better than me, but that's not saying much. Well, anyways, so I always desperately wanted a Crucible title that you didn't have to be like a top 5% player to get. It just shows that you love Crucible, you're in Crucible all the time, that type of thing. Well, along came Iron Lord. Of course, I got that like the first week it came out. I remember Bungie screwed up the rep system and this and that, but then they kind of fixed it on the weekend. And they gave you like a bonus rep because they had broken it earlier in the week. Whatever. I got it like the first week because this was like the first Crucible title ever that like you didn't have to be a top 5% player to get. It was basically just persevere, keep trying, you'll get it. I don't remember what all the requirements were, but none of them were like skill gated at all. It was just like play a shitload of Iron Banner matches, reset your Iron Banner rank, that kind of thing. I think it was maybe reset twice. In the same season or something. Whatever it was, I did it all in like the first Iron Banner that came on that season. And I was happy with that because, like I said, I now had a Crucible title. Of course, it wasn't as prestigious as Unbroken or Flawless, but it was a Crucible title for me. I never took it off since I got it, I was so happy. It was just what I had always said, that there needs to be a Crucible title for people who are not top players, but who love Crucible, And that was, Iron Lord was kind of, granted, it was restricted to just Iron Banner type activity, but it's still a Crucible title that you didn't have to be top player to get. Just what I wanted. So I got that. Well, along comes Glorious this season, and I wasn't sure how hard it was to make, but I had my eye on it like, So I looked at it. I forget all the achievements. They're all pretty easy, and I already had like most of them pre-filled out because I live in Crucible for like 10 years in this game. Like, even gold medals, I'm not good, but I have like 250 or something. Those are the medals that are like kind of hard to get. I had everything except for like 2 or 3 things that had to do with the new comp system. And I got all those along the way. They're all easy, mostly. You'll complete them along the way. Except for the stickler one is basically, for me, was get to platinum. Basically, that was the one. Because after I did my placement series, which is like the 7 matches where they rank you, I came out to be like gold 1, I think it was, which pretty much everybody did, I think. Most people, they were all like gold 1 or gold 3. It wasn't that, like, it puts you in gold somewhere. So, I didn't know, like I said, it turned out all the other triumphs for this title or seal, whatever they're called, I call them titles, were pretty easy and would auto-complete. The one stickler was getting to platinum and winning a promotion series to get to platinum. Even winning a promotion series, I think I slipped below gold at one point, and then I won my promotion series to get back up to gold. So I had already won a promotion series, but I would have won one on going from gold to platinum anyway, so that one would auto-completed too. Anyways, so how is it as a 1 KD? Well, honestly, it wasn't too bad. Main thing was just getting over the mental hurdle of I hate playing comp, and every time I'm playing comp, I want to play quick play because it's less stressful, and I just put it off. It's like procrastinating that big paper in school that you don't want to do. You keep screwing around all day, knowing you got to write this paper. That's kind of what it was like, except for every day for like weeks of me not really playing much comp. I'd go in there sometimes, but like not enough. I knew I'd have to discipline myself to like only play comp and nothing else for like 2 weeks and find out if I could, because I wasn't sure if I could do the title or not. because I didn't know their scoring system, how well it would work. I mean, whether, like I figured out pretty quickly that I couldn't freelance to 5,500 glory. I would always cap out about 3,500. Sometimes I would go lower, sometimes higher, but I could not get to 5,500 with their scoring system the way it was. I figured out the reason was I would have to win way over 50% of my matches, and just in general, like I said, I have a long-term win rate that's like 40% in this game. I think that's just what a solo is meant to have, unless you're like Frostbolt, and I'm not. So I knew I wasn't going to get to Unbroken. I figured out the system. So I had not had that experience with Glory, so I didn't know how hard it would be to get to Platinum as a 1 KD, how it all worked. I quickly figured out it was doable. I still wasn't sure till the end, but I figured out it was doable. It was giving me the first 17 comp matches I played, like on the first day, because I charted them on a piece of paper. And I noticed it was giving you wildly, I already knew this from reading Reddit about it, but it gives you wildly different amounts of rep for your wins and losses. Like sometimes it would subtract like 50 points for a loss, sometimes around 100. Sometimes it would give you 120 points for a win. Sometimes it would give you like 50 points for a win. Like it was just no rhyme or reason at all. Nobody knew why they're doing that. From the online discussions I saw. Well, one thing I noticed after my first 17 matches, I won 7 and lost 10. I added up all my wins, divided by 7, added up all my losses, divided by 10 points, and I figured that they were on average, they gave me 117 points per win. I was probably in like gold 3 or 1 at this point. They were giving me like 117 points per win on average, and subtracting like 64 points per loss on average. So I made the conclusion, it looks like they're giving you, probably trying to give you 120 per win roughly, and just being random about it. But average 120 per win and average 60 per loss, and I quickly figured out, well, that all you got to do is win like a third of your matches to tread water. I can do this. I can make ground that way. And it felt like, but I'm not sure if that's true, because as time went on, I felt like the points evened out. I felt like they were giving you about maybe somewhat more points on the wins, but they were more even. But the weird thing is I won a lot of my matches. I was probably winning 50-60% of my matches. I would go on win streaks of like 5-6 matches sometimes, which I never do in any other mode. Maybe quick play, but I don't really pay attention or try in quick play much. But like I don't really play the objective that much in control or anything. I've been playing this game so long, like I'm not going to play the objective. I'm just there to kill shit. I'll play it if I feel like it, or it's a close match sometimes. It just depends on which way the winds are blowing. A lot of times if I look up and it's a close match towards the end, I'll start going for zones just because it's a close match towards the end, But I was winning like way more in comp. I noticed in general, not always, but I would go on some losing. But I was probably winning like over 50% of my matches, which is unheard of in Destiny. I never did that in comp and under the old system. I definitely don't do that in trials. I don't do that in quick play, So I don't know what the matchmaking was doing, but it seemed a lot easier in comp. Like I said, I was winning probably over 50%, which I never do. And I was going on like win streaks of like 5 or 6 at times, which again, never outside comp in the new system. I mean, I might, like I said, I'm sure it's happened in quick play, but it's rare. Anyways, so yeah, that's what I don't know how the points were working out. It did seem like it gives you more it gives you more per win than loss, but I'm not sure. The initial figuring I did that it's giving you about 120 per win, and just wildly, sometimes it'll give you 150, sometimes it'll give you 50, and it all averages out to 120 per win. And it's about 60 per loss, in same way. That didn't hold up. I felt like it was giving you more like evenly per win and loss. It probably was giving you more for wins on average, because I played way more than 17 matches. I probably ended up playing like 60 or something like that, or 80 to get my comp title. Now, eventually, I started getting in placement series, and I got in a few, or like the, what do they call it, promotion series. I would really tense up in these, get really nervous again. I would get it to the point where I was not so nervous in comp because I was playing all the time, which I knew would happen. It's just a matter you got to get yourself used to it. Probably like riding a horse or something. If you go ride a horse and you're super scared of riding the horse, yeah, day one you're scared of riding the horse. But if you force yourself to ride that horse every day, by day 10 you're like, it's just riding the horse. It's not a big deal. Same thing as comp. I was super nervous at first, but I forced myself to play all the time, which is hard because I was always wanting to play quick play for fun instead. But not all the time, but quite a bit, or more than like half the time or something. But I started forcing myself to play more, and like it was a job. Like, this is the thing I got to do. I got to get this title, or at least find out if I can or not. Because almost the whole time I was always kind of wondering, is this doable or is this not doable for my skill level? But so the funny thing is, I believe I kind of lost count, but I'm 99.999% sure it was 5. I lost 5 freaking promotion series before I finally broke through in one. It might have even been 6, but I think it was 5. 5 separate times I got to promotion series, which means you got to win 2 out of your next 3 to get promoted to platinum. And I lost 5 in a row of those suckers. Then I would just start working back, eventually get back to another promotion series. But it kind of told me that this was doable, because the fact that I got to 5 promotion series means I can regularly get to promotion series, So then it would just be a matter of winning one. It would usually knock you down like 250 points after you lost, and it just depended how long it would take you to get back there. It usually took a handful of matches. It wasn't too bad. Sometimes I could get back quick, But then I kept losing the promotion series. A couple times I won like the first match, so I was like one freaking match away, and then I would blow. And one time I think I had it was like 2-1 we were leading, and I was like, so close if I remember correctly. And then they won that 4th round to make it 2-2, and on top of that they had like 3 supers, and we had maybe like 1 or none. At the end of that round, I looked up, it had gone from 2-1 to 2-2 tied, and they had like all their supers and we had nothing. And I was like, oh God, I'm going to lose this again. And sure enough, we did. And I went on to lose like in the third match. A few times in the third match, I'd get to it 1-1 and we get just blown out. So I started thinking, well, are they making the promotion series like really hard? Because the rest of my matches, I'm winning a good clip. But I keep losing. I lost 5. Am I tensing up too much when the pressure's on? Which is definitely something I would do. I don't know what the answer was, but eventually I kept plugging away. I kept getting back to the promotion series. And like on my 6th try, I won the freaking promotion series. I was so happy. And I got my glorious title. So as a 1 KD, so there you go. I got my glorious title. Now, one thing I did notice was, when I would look at Destiny Tracker, it was very depressing because I felt like these players were pretty good. A lot of them in the lobby would be unbroken or flawless or whatever. Often on the other side, sometimes on my side, whatever. And I felt like I was hanging with these unbrokens, and I had this false idea that I'm becoming pretty good in Crucible. Then I would go look at my KD, my match history on Destiny Tracker, and look at the lobby KDs, and it's very depressing because there'd be like lobby KD would be like 0.93. It's like, good grief. And you'd look and like the opponents would be like 0.86, 0.91. It's like, no wonder you won that match. These guys are terrible. But they seem good in the match. Most of them play sweaty, There was a lot of flawless and unbrokens. I'm not saying that either on my team or the other team, like probably a good third of the players were maybe half were like either flawless or unbroken. I felt good about that, like look at these skilled players I'm in with, I'm mixing in with these flawlesses and unbrokens regularly, and which I do in quick play. A lot of times I'll slay the flawlesses and unbrokens in quick play, or not a lot, but sometimes, I don't know. They're not always that good. They probably get carried with their friends, or I know in the past you could do something called win trade to cheat, because I did it to get my Not Forgotten back in the day, or whatever the first one was, my Luna's Howl. And it was a total accident. I think I made a video about that. But basically, yeah, I win traded to get my Luna's Howl back when that was a thing. So I know you could cheat like Unbroken title the same way, but so some of them may have cheated there. I don't know if that's still possible. I don't think it is, to use that cheat to to get comp points. I don't think you could do it in trials. It's just a comp thing. But anyways, so I wonder if some of the Unbrokens of Falls cheated their way there, if that's still even possible, or what. But anyways, I play on Xbox, so there's not cheating or like hacking going on. But yes, I finally got Glorious, and I wanted to talk a bunch about loadouts, both what I used and I wanted to say, I still, in my defense about the kind of players I played, I feel like a 1 KD now in this game is like so much better than a 1 KD like 2 years ago. Because like I mentioned about trials, everybody playing this game now is like so good at it for the most part. They're like tough as nails, and so I feel like if you're a 1 KD in today's environment, you're pretty good. So even though a lot of the lobbies I played in this Glorious run would be like around 1 KD lobbies, I still feel like I'm still trying to tell myself I'm pretty good, because these are like hardened to 1 KDs. You know, you got to be good to be a 1 KD nowadays. I swear. And I felt like the lobbies were pretty sweaty, just in terms of it. Granted, you get dummy players, of course. Sometimes you get a noob in there, you know, that just couldn't even hardly walk. But so that's my defense about it. But anyways, so I wanted to talk about the subclass and loadouts I used. Let me see. Let me do the loadouts page. First of all, these are all kind of janked, but this is basically what I used. These are like the same. These are how I do my loadouts. I'll have like a PvP and a PvE, which are like the main, just the armor, taking off all the ships and stuff. And then whenever I switch from PvP to PvE, I'll just save my current loadout. So that's why it says like a current or last. I'll either name it current or last with everything. But anyways, with all the mods. So here's what subclass I use and whatnot. I actually have been using in Crucible just straight since I used to, of course, use Void Hunter because that's what everybody used. You know, it's kind of super meta, and no other subclass was even close to as good. So, but when they nerfed the radar, I knew I didn't really want to play Void Hunter on anymore. I tried playing it a few times, didn't like it. It felt like I was always getting shot. At first I forgot that they nerfed the radar. So it was weird. It was like, where'd that guy come from? Who shot me? You know? Like, and then I remembered, oh yeah, they nerfed the damn radar. It took me a while to remember that. But yeah, I didn't like the Invis Hunter, and I saw a lot less people using it after the nerf. So, so weirdly, I don't know how I ended up. I just ended up on Stasis. I immediately started playing Stasis again. It was one of the challenge, in the last Iron Banner, it was like run Stasis or Void subclass for the whatever they say. You pretty much had to get like extra points or something. I don't remember. I was running Stasis anyway before then. Just for whatever reason, it felt like it'd be fun. I honestly never liked Invis Hunter. I don't know why. I don't like the whole Invis loop. I don't like trying to be sneaky. It feels like too much work. I don't know. So yeah, I don't really love Invis Hunter. I've had a lot of fun with Stasis. So whenever Invis Hunter got nerfed, I just randomly switched to Stasis, and I've been loving it ever since, really. And it has a lot of strengths. It seems like the least popular class, but one big advantage I have is look at this armor setup I have. Man, I got 45 tiers going. I do 10 mobility, as you see, 4 resilience. Basically, I go for 10 mobility and 10 recovery and Crucible at all times, as you see. Well, let's just go with this equipped one. 10 mobility. This is what I have now. And 10 recovery, and then 10 discipline. That means I get my grenades, my cooldown on my dusk fields is like 24 seconds or something. I even got 6 intellect. I got 45 tiers, which is very good. I got 5 strength. I could care less about strength in this game since day one. I don't ever get in melee fights. I don't care about strength. Only time it might be useful is when you're on a hunter for the invis grenades. And then resilience, sadly, I know it's kind of good in PvP right now, but it's not as good as people think. On Hunter, though, I mean, 10 mobility and 10 recovery are just musts. So, because I run a Wormhole Scram build, I need dodge up all the time. Like, if I don't have dodge, I hate it. So, 10 and 10 in recovery and mobility are musts. And then the third one, yeah, discipline just seems the most useful because intellect is not that helpful anymore. Strength is useless. Resilience is good, but first of all, I can't get it very high because you can't get 3 on the same side very high. You can get 10-10, but then the third one's going to suffer. And that's just the best I could do. And resilience is helpful, but it's not, I've never, as a hunter, you don't need it that much. Like, yes, I know that certain weapon combos take longer to kill at higher resilience, but it's always some esoteric crap, like, that's probably not going to come into play very often. Like, so I don't really care about it as far as weapons much. I mean, of course, I would run 10 everything if it was all free, but it's not, so something's got to suffer. And yeah, resilience just isn't that relevant as a hunter. Oh, and now they make the guns more stable according to your resilience, right? But it's really not very much, I figured out. Or flinch reduction, that's what it is. It's not much. It's like 10%. And then the 10% reduction, like I'm already getting 4% of it because I'm at tier 4. So, like, I mean, you're talking about a difference of 6%. I'm sorry, but that's not that much. You know, like the stability on your gun affects the flinch reduction. Cool Guy's got some vids talking about it, I think, even though I don't really like Cool Guy, but so I don't want to mention his channel too much. But basically, the gist of it is like the stability in your gun is more important to your flinch reduction than resilience. Overall, it's a fairly small effect. Especially, you're talking about a difference between 4 and 10. You're not talking about 0 to 10. And even if it's 0 to 10, I think each one is like a percent. So it's like 10% max of flinch reduction. I'm getting 4% of that. So yeah, it's not that big a deal. And something has to suffer, so it has to be resilience. For the others, I don't care. I just go for like the highest intellect possible, you know, with what's left. Strength is only that high because of whatever that one mod is, Powerful Friends, I think, or Radiant Light. One of them gives you like a 20 bonus to strength. Other than that, so that's why it's kind of high, but I don't care about it. For yeah, and I have good armor. One thing I'm really proud of is that I've played this game so long that I have a lot of good armor. And I can spec up really good. Like I said, 45 tiers. And I use my fragments. A lot of them I'll just use to give myself more stats. I ran, of course, you can only run that. I ran Marksman's Dodge. I don't know why people use Gambler's Dodge in this game. Marksman's Dodge is up a lot more frequently. Here you can tell I'm a terrible player because everybody that's good always says go with the other jump. Like one where you can move around in the air more, but whatever. I just used triple jump a long time ago because I used it in PvE. And whatever, I just get used to having that third jump, and I just can't, you know, it's just something you get used to, so I suppose I should. I have been doing a lot more CQC, so maybe I should go with the strafe jump, I believe it's called. I just haven't tried anything different in a long time. I just leave it here. I should go to strafe jump and see if I like it, but I just like the triple jump because a lot of times I'll be trying to jump onto some piece of geometry in Crucible. If I don't have that third jump, when I'm so used to it, I'm like, where'd it go? You know? These, of course, you just gotta have that. Those are pretty useless. Duskfield is kind of good, kind of crap. But what I really enjoyed using these, this is a lot of part of why I enjoyed the whole subclass. These are really good for like, they're surprisingly good and they come up so quick. Like I said, I believe they have a 24-second cooldown at tier 10 discipline that I run. Then on top of that, there's like all these ways to get more grenade. There's like one of my fragments gets you more grenade energy on taking damage. And then there's a thing, I think it's just kind of intrinsic to the subclass or whatever, where like shooting the Duskfield grenade throw has a one of the fragments I run. It has like a crystal in the middle. You shoot that crystal and it makes your cooldown go a lot faster for like 10. I think I remember the TLDRs that basically like halves your cooldown. So I'm probably getting one of these grenades like every 10 to 10 seconds or something, or less on average, if you count all my buffs and everything. Like, that's ridiculous. It's almost like you almost always have it up. So now it doesn't do almost any damage. That's the bad thing. Like, you're never going to get kills with it. So it's kind of impotent. Like, you're not, every once in a blue moon you'll get a kill with it, because it just does like 2 to 3 tick damage on somebody when it's slowing them. Every once, like, I always noticed it when it happened. Like, maybe twice in my whole run to Glorious, I got kills off it. Somebody has to be like almost dead and you tag them with one. And so the little 1, 2, 3 tick damage kills them. Very rare to actually get killed. So what it's good for, though, is it's super fun. For me, especially as an extremely old defensive player, like, it's good to throw. I actually don't get to use it to stop rushers too much. Actually, I do. You throw it to stop rushers. You throw it a lot of times to predict when someone's jumping in. You know, you can kind of tell, especially with, I feel like it only works on bad players anyway. Like, skilled players don't fall for this thing. But, lesser players, let's call them, you can throw that sucker and kind of predict where they're going to jump, and they'll jump into it. Anybody being really aggressive, that's what I like about them. You just throw that, it has a big area, like, you don't even have to be close to the enemy, really. So anytime I'm running and disengaging, I throw it. You know, it's always there anyway. You just throw it behind you, and it just kind of... Here's one thing I know about Destiny that's very helpful in PvP, is that people are more scared of damage than they need to be. Like, you got to use their psychology against them. And I've noticed Frostbolt talk about this sometimes in his videos and stuff. Like, he'll start shooting a barricade sometimes, right? And a lot of times that player, even though he doesn't have enough ammo to break it or whatever, they'll get scared. And I noticed this too. They'll get scared and they'll, like, run off or try to jump over the barricade. You know, they're scared of the barricade breaking. Again, good players don't fall for these types of things, but they're more scared of the barricade breaking than you actually risk breaking it, you know? It's the same thing with grenades. Like, if you put a grenade somewhere and somebody could easily run through it and kill you and tank the damage, they won't, because they just psychologically, they don't want to take the damage, you know? It's the same thing as Duskfield. It may not be all that dangerous or whatever, and they could probably just push through the slow if they wanted or whatever, but they don't want to go near it psychologically so bad that it's really effective. You know, probably more effective than it should be. And I believe it got a buff recently, too. In fact, I know it, 99.99, it got buffed recently, where it, like, applies the stacks of slow quicker or something. It won't, because stasis wasn't powerful enough. It was, like, really getting not used in PvP. So, yeah, it got buffed. It slows pretty decently. It does a decent slow on them if they get caught in it. I don't think it'll ever really freeze them unless they just really, if at all. I think you gotta put some other effect on there to freeze them, like throwing one of your shurikens or something, or somebody else put some slow on them. I'm not positive. It may freeze them if they, like, just stand there in it long enough. But yeah, it's good for being, you gotta consider everything that, yeah, it's not a very dangerous grenade, but it's always up. You gotta take their cooldown into account. And it's really good, like I said, for my play style, because I throw it when somebody's chasing me, I throw it when somebody's jumping at me, I throw it around geometry, I'm behind a box, I use it to try to zone players a lot. You know, like if I'm 1v1ing somebody and I'm weak and we're around a box, we're playing ring around the box or whatever, some geometry, I'll throw it like to the left side of the thing. Just so that now he won't go left, you know. He can't come around the rock to the left. He has to come right. I'll force him where I want him, you know? Like, I feel like such a seasoned PvP player saying things like that. You just got to be smart about it, you know. You can. That's what playing this Crucible for thousands of hours. I may have no reaction time, but I played it for so many hours. I can sort of figure, and I may be dumb. I mean, seriously, I'm like really dumb, but but even I can figure out some stuff after playing so much, you know. You use these grenades like force players the way you want them. Like I said, you're playing ring around a rock, throw it to the left, and now he can only go right on you, you know, or whatever it is. And like, you really, It's good on like Control. If you're ever playing Control, throw it like the doorways on Bannerfall. I even know where to place them where they can like block off the top and the bottom doorway because they're big enough to do that. So people can't jump up or go through those doors. Again, they probably could, but they won't. That's another thing, the psychology of it. Just all that stuff. It's really nice. You can use the crystal in the middle for resist. It gives you some damage resistance. I always shatter it. I will say that the crystal in the middle is kind of a blessing and a curse because I get too focused on, I got to shoot that crystal to get my faster recharge. And a lot of times I'll throw the grenade and immediately shoot the crystal and I'll lose battlefield awareness. I'm more worried about the crystal than where my enemies are, and it costs me. I gotta watch that. Like a lot of times now I just remember like it's not that important. You get your grenade back quickly anyway. Like, and I kind of try to shoot the crystal less. Sometimes I just leave it and don't shoot it at all. It's not a must to shoot the crystal every time because I'll get too OCD about it. Just worry about shooting the crystal instead of where my enemies are. I got to break that habit. But yeah, and plus the crystal is good. I need to use it to play around it more for cover, for damage resist, all that stuff. And if you shoot it, it's not there anymore. But yeah, so I'm kind of loving the Duskfield grenade in a lot of ways. It's annoying in some ways because it doesn't do damage. It's not a kill grenade, that kind of stuff. But it's also very good in that it's always up. You can use it a lot defensively, a lot to like zone, area of effect, keep people off. Keep doors, if you don't want them to go through this door, throw it in front of that door so that entrance to your position is covered. All that stuff. It's been a lot of fun. Grim Harvest defeating a Slaughter. Stasis shards are good. I got the, you pick those up, you get an overshield. That's nice. Something I use fairly often. I don't think it does me that much good because the overshield is usually not very much. But I try to pick them up, and then I'll try to go pick a fight right after because the overshield lasts 10 seconds. Basically, it's but yeah, and then a lot of times I'll notice I'll go pick a fight and I'll die because I'll be too brave because I think I've got the overshield. But it is what it is. It's fun. It works. I guess Touch of Winter, Whisper of Durance. Of course, you got to run this, and then plus it gives you a plus 10 strength. No brainer. Anything that gives you a plus stat is usually a good fragment. Whisper of Chains, near a frozen target, you take reduced damage. Whisper of Shards, shattering increases your grenade recharge rate, and it's a plus 10 resilience, no brainer. Whisper of Conduction, this one sucks the shards to you, and it's a 10 intellect and 10 resilience, no brainer. Huge stat bumps. Although both those stats are not that relevant. And then Whisper of Rhyme, collecting this is the only one that doesn't give me a stat bump, but it I think I have every positive stat bump fragment on, and the rest of them are all negatives. I don't totally go by if this is a negative stat, I won't wear it. If it's good enough, of course I will, but I do think about the stats when I'm putting on these fragments. And this one is the Overshield one, collecting a stasis shard gets an Overshield. So that's all my fragments. This is my stat distribution. It's awesome, as you can see. The super is actually not terrible, especially for Hunter. Hunter has a lot of really terrible supers. The stasis super is not terrible, and you get better with it. In the pantheon of terrible Hunter supers, Bungie just balances this game. In my opinion, gives Hunters the absolute worst supers. I mean, we do not have a good super compared to Thunder Crash, now Bubble and Well, Thunder Crash especially. Titans always have just ridiculous supers. Hunters never have anything. We don't have a single good super that slays well. The only one we have that's kind of decent is the Arc Staff with Regi's Harness. That's the thing. If you don't have Regi's Harness, then the Arc Staff's pretty trash too. And you can't run that all the time. You're giving up another exotic. At best, it's if you're really competitive. I see Defizzle doing this. If you're running the Arc Hunter, you switch to Regi's, pop your super, and then switch back. But that's very annoying. Yes, if you're really good and trying to win, you do that. But most of the time I'm not going to be. I never have done it a switch to exotic. It's just annoying to switch mid-game. So yeah, hunters have no good supers. So given that, it's not horrendous. It's usually good for a kill. It's a pretty good, it's a decent panic super. It takes long to activate. It's not a great panic super, just like tether. Sometimes it can get us some good kills. Usually it doesn't freeze people long enough, even if they'd have to be really grouped for you to really get a good multi-kill with it, or at least as bad as I am. But overall, it's just not bad. They sped the tornado up a while ago, so it catches more people, especially bad players. It catches more people unawares and kills them. It's not terrible. It's actually pretty good. And then the doesn't really do anything to bubbles though. I think you have to be in the bubble and good luck. But the good thing about it is it's a really fast cooldown. I don't know if it's the fastest or the next to fastest, but in quick play especially, I'll get it twice a lot with 6 discipline. I'll get it twice in a match sometimes, especially in quick play. Usually I get it twice in quick play. Maybe the second time it's kind of iffy. Depends on how much I slay or how long the match goes or whatever. But usually you'll get it twice. I mean, that's big in itself in my opinion. Like, I always look at it as like, if you have a good super that you only get once, or like a mediocre super that you get twice, I mean, that's kind of a toss-up to me. You might want to go with the mediocre super. You get it twice, you know? That's huge. It would have to be half as good to not be worth it. So, yes, that's what I used. Stasis. A lot of fun with the dust field grenades. The shurikens I hardly ever use. I even use those sometimes. Every once in a while I'll even get a kill. They do like 30 or 45. Sometimes basically what you use those for is if a player is really wounded and you know it, and he ducks behind cover, you try to bounce it off of some nearby geometry and kill him. You know, it's not very effective. The tracking is so bad on it now. That's why it's not good. It's pretty hard to bounce it off cover and hit somebody because it won't track them very well. But every once in a while, it gets a kill. I actually have a little issue with those two, in that, like, I have some surplus guns in my rotation. Actually, one of them I'll get to, that I use fairly often in my comp run. And when you have surplus, the shurikens are really good because 2 of them are sitting in your inventory all the time, not used. Usually when you're on stasis, and they count as 2 surplus stacks. So, like, I kind of like train myself when I'm running a surplus weapon. Don't use your shurikens. Just keep them for your surplus stacks. But then when I'm not running a surplus weapon, it feels bad to use. I'm always like, oh, I'm not supposed to use my shuriken. You know, it's just a weird mental thing. It's like, okay, I gotta train myself not to use my shurikens. Okay, now I'm not running a surplus weapon, I can use my shuriken. It's just a mental, like, weird thing. But yeah, now let's talk loadouts, because this video is almost an hour. What guns did I use to get me to Glorious as a 1 KD? Honestly, I started out, my main loadout was this Disparity with Headseeker, and I'm liking this better than Revision 0 because of Headseeker. Their stats are very close. Honestly, Revision 0 has better stats, but honestly, like stability 90, stability 86. You think that really matters that much? I don't think so. And then range, 81 versus 70. But here's the thing. Disparity is a 19 zoom. And Revision 0 is a 18 zoom. So I think in real range, they're about the same. You know? So you got to take that into account. They're the same in range. Doesn't matter what the stat says. Or I don't know. Disparity may even be a little ahead when you're using 4 burst fire, which on console I know is better on Revision 0. All these streams are saying use 2 burst. It's terrible. At least on console. Maybe it's different on PC. On console, 2 burst is pretty bad that I've seen it. So, it might also work better with full auto because you got to pull the trigger so much on 2 burst. You got to pull the trigger like 4 times or 3 times to get a kill with 2 burst if you're lucky, and possibly only 2 times on the 4 burst. Anyways, 4 burst is better. I don't care what streamer's been saying. But here's the thing. This is crafted, and I even crafted it with Headseeker and Enhanced Headseeker. You can't get Headseeker on this. And from what I've seen, Headseeker is really strong right now. Looks like I'm running Elemental Capacitor on this. Honestly, Headseeker helps so much with getting 2 burst kills that I've seen. I think it's better than anything Revision Zero offers. I don't use the sniper on Revision Zero anyway. I can't snipe normally, let alone with that thing. So that's no factor. So Revision Zero does have better stats, but like I said, I don't see where they really play in. The range is about the same either way. The stability is very close if you really look at it. The way I've got my disparity spec, it actually has a little more handling. Reload speed is not something that really matters that much in Crucible. Put on reloader gloves, I don't know. It just doesn't come into play that much because it's like you do your engagement, then you reload. It does come into play depending on the archetype and stuff, but it's not anything to worry about. So yes, Vision Zero has 17 more reload speed, but it's kind of a who cares thing. It's not that relevant. Of course, more is always better, but even aim assistance is about the same because you can put mods on this thing and put like a targeting adjuster mod, whatever. You got the ambush perk on top of it. I kind of like disparity better than Revision Zero right now. Maybe when Revision Zero gets its final trace, even then I just don't see as of currently, and I haven't played with them a ton to make this definitively. But I think that the fact that this can roll Headseeker trumps any advantages this has that I've seen so far, making this just the better gun of the new. I came to a conclusion, though, I just don't like both of these. And I think that yes, everybody's playing with them right now. Here's why I don't like them. Because their gun models are weird. They're very bulky. I think when Blast Furnace comes back, because they've said that as soon as they get 801 in the story, that the Black Armory weapons will come back. They already said that on a podcast. So I know Blast Furnace is coming back sooner or later. They didn't say when. They said as soon as 801 is in the story beat, they'll be bringing the Black Armory weapons back. They said that. So, I know Blast Furnace is going to come back sooner. Now, that's going to be the one. That was my baby back in the day. And that has a good model, good gun model. I hate how bulky these are on the screen. The weirdo scopes. They're decent scopes, but there's just something about them. This one actually, to me, feels better. The Revision Zero especially feels so clunky, regardless of what the handling stat is. Just because of that big old weapon model. So yeah, I've come to the conclusion that they're the flavor of the month and everybody's using them right now. But I think over the long term, they're going to fall by the wayside. Because like I said, once Blast Furnace comes out, it's over for these jokers. That one has a good gun model and looks a lot cleaner scopes. But they're pretty good. I started out using my main when I started was like Disparity. And then I would run Shayer's Wrath. I tried all these other things. I've been trying to use 720 autos because I have this theory that a 720 auto could be like an inefficiency in this game because they have much greater damage fall off, even if the range is about the same, or they have much greater damage slope curve. I tried it. Here's what I did. I took a 720. And I tested to where it was doing 80% damage. And Shayer's Wrath that I have here, it specs out to like 24.5 on damage fallout. And it was hitting 80% of its damage at up to 28 meters, and then it would fall off below 80%. I just picked 80% randomly as like, because it sounded like that's about when a weapon stops being effective, really. Like if it's still doing 80% damage, it's still effective. If it's doing less than 80%, it's probably too far, And then I took like a Dark Decider or something. Dark Decider's terrible, and I tested, and its damage fall off was like 25.5. So only 1 meter more than Shayer's Wrath, right? But I want to know the point. This is crazy to me, where its damage drop off hit 80%, which was 28 on the Shayer's Wrath. You want to know what it was for Dark Decider? Whatever you guess higher. 42. It doesn't drop off to 80% damage until 42 meters. So that's what I'm talking about with the damage curves on the auto rifles. Are so much more sloped that I think if you ever get a really good 720, it would be really good. But all I know is that in practice, not in theory, the 720s are not as good as Shayer's Wrath. They're just not. Because Dark Decider is terrible, way too much screen shake and reticle and stability, trash. Sweet Sorrow is much better, but it's still not as good as Shayer's Wrath, in my opinion. So yeah, Shayer's Wrath is just the best. I always run double primary because I'm 150 years old. I haven't run special in forever. And hey, this is my time. Double primary is stronger than ever, in my opinion. SMGs and sidearms are stronger than they have been in ages. So I've always been running them anyway. Might as well run them when they're in their prime right now, you know. Yeah, so I'd run basically Disparity and Shahir's Wrath. My Adept one is the best one I have, and I don't trials much, so I'm not getting one better than this. It has good range. Only thing I'm pissed off about is I don't have Adept range. I've run a lot of GM Nightfalls, and I've got pretty much everything else. I've got Adept Handling, I've got Adept Stability. I don't have Adept range, dang it. But it's still 86 range. It's solid. And it's got tap the trigger dynamics, weight reduction. It's really good. Like I said, I'm never getting one better than this, I promise. And it's Adept. I must have got that on my 1D2 flawless run that I was talking about earlier. Because all my other ones, let me see. I don't have another Adept one anywhere. Where's all? I got like 5 Shahir's Wrath probably. Don't see him though. Just wanted to prove I have not gone flawless again. See, that one's not Adept. That one's not Adept. That one's not. I don't have any other Adept Shahir's Wrath. But yeah, so that's what I went with. It seemed a good solid load. And what I would do is when on a longer map, and most of the time I found you don't need range in comp. Because most of the time your engagements are not, a lot of times it's Rift as the game mode, and that's always forcing you into close battles. You don't need range, even if you're on Disjunction. If you're on Disjunction and you're playing Rift, you really don't need range much. So I found a pulse was plenty. What I would do is if we're on Midtown or Disjunction or something, I would just switch to this, my old Legal Action 2. I probably got this from Xerxes, it's probably not that old. But I've had Legal Action 2s laying around in my vault forever. Rampage and Surplus. It's good, and damage fall off is 46 meters, which is almost, I think it's 46.7. So, because it has 22 zoom, that's the big advantage of Legal Action 2. It has an outlier zoom value. So, I actually don't use this much in Quick Play or over the years, but it's actually pretty good. So, I would switch this one and that way I kept all my mods, because I don't really have time to switch mods before a match. So if I gotta switch guns on the fly, I hate it, because it's I don't have the right mods for it. If I switch to a scout rifle, I don't have the mods for it, and I don't have time to switch them during the match, really. Or I'm not that fast. I'm on Xbox, okay, I'm not on PC. But this way I can just switch out. It was just a little longer range option. Disparity is about a 40 meters, 46, 47. I would switch to it on Midtown, anything where range might come into play a little more. But also depends on the game mode. Rift, I find you don't need range much anyway, because you tend to be in close battles. So that takes all those. Where you would need range sometimes would be on survival or showdown modes on a big map. Let's say it's survival on Midtown. You might need range more on those. From what I've seen, everybody just runs to the buildings in Midtown anyway. Nobody wants to play range except me. That's generally the case in this game. Nobody wants to play range except me. In Quick Play, of course I go outside, because Quick Play, a bunch of people go outside. In comp, I found that I'll just run inside. So even if you got a long range pulse rifle, it's not helping you that much. And the thing is, if you try to flanking is this is something I learned. Somebody said flanks are not good, and this advice kind of stuck with me. Some streamer, they were flanking in general, it can work every once in a while, but they're maybe I read this on Reddit. It's basically flanks generally don't work. Sometimes they can, but 9 times out of 10 they're not going to work, and you're probably going to get killed. And it's happened to me so many times. I'll try to flank, because it's just my nature. I'll usually try to flank, or I used to, especially because I like to play the range game more. So I'll try to get some range on the outside on them. But the thing is, then if they see you, they'll break off and 3v1 you, and you're dead, and you cost your team a life. So that's one thing I kind of figured out, was to stay with my teammates more and not try to flank every once in a while I will, or if it's a bad team. Bad teams tend to be susceptible to flanks. But 9 times out of 10, I just got to stay with my teammates. So if they run inside of Midtown, I got to run inside of Midtown. Because I'm not going to get caught 3v1 on a flank, you know? So yeah, I didn't. So this worked well because I could keep my mods. I kept Shair's Wrath on regardless. I just would use Disparity normally on most maps. And then if it's a longer raid map, I'd switch to this one for a little more range. Now, and sometimes I would even, every once in a while, it feels like survival on Eternity, for example. A really just egregious. I'd switch to my trusty old Talons of the Eagle, opening shot Zen moment. This thing's pretty much beastly. And it's much better than Percy's D. Much better, because it's got Zen moment and opening shot. Zen moment really keeps it. The key to these, honestly, these high impacts is stability, because that's what lets you get the 3 taps quickly. And like if you try to take a Percy's against a Jade Rabbit, you'll see he'll flinch the shit out of you. You cannot beat a Jade Rabbit with the Percy's D. I tell people I'm a scout rifle expert because I'm an old person. That like most people in the game don't care about scouts, but like scouts are something where your equipment really matters. Like if you have 2 hand cannons, it doesn't matter very much. If they have a better hand cannon, it doesn't matter. Skill is gonna win. But if you're taking a scout against a scout and he has a much better scout, he's going to beat you every time. That's one thing about scout rifles. And Jade Rabbit is the king. I learned this when I tried to take on this like Unbroken. And I always go outside on Disjunction and Quick Play. And I try to like pick people off with scout rifles from outside. That's what I always do in Disjunction and Quick Play. And there was this Unbroken out there with the Jade. And I had like a Percy's D. I could not beat him. I mean, he probably killed me 15 times. Like, and I realized it's not all because he's unbroken. It's because he's got Jade Rabbit. You cannot beat Jade Rabbit with a Percy's D. And I tried this recently too. A guy, I was killing him. I was trying Percy's D again for fun, even though I know it sucks. On Eternity, Disjunction, just the other day. I was going outside. It was in Quick Play. Every time this guy, he switched to Jade Rabbit because he saw me killing him every time with Percy's D. I don't know what he was running at first. But every time I matched him again with Jade Rabbit, 1v1, he won. It was only like 3 or 4 times. And he wasn't even unbroken or anything. But what he was doing was like every time he'd flinch me. The Jade Rabbit is like so stable. That's what you need on 150 scouts. It's so stable and it'll flinch a Percy's D. And I was running unflinching mods and everything else. I think I had like, I don't remember what I had, but the Percy's had something like Zen moment and stuff too. It was all, it doesn't matter. The Jade Rabbit will win every time. Just a little thing. But this Talons of the Eagle is really good. And because it has Zen moment, opening shot, and decent stability and handling, that's why 150s, most of them will have like 20 handling and like 25 stability. This one is actually decent in both those stats, so it's very rare. It has good range. It's very good, and it'll hang somewhat with Jade Rabbit, which no other legendary will. So yeah, so I would switch to it when I would switch to it on like a like a survival Eternity or something, where I really needed a scout. And I would just not have the mods for it, because, oh well, I didn't have time to switch my mods. Don't snipe because I'm old and I just gave up on sniping. I can't snipe. Snipers don't seem very strong right now anyways. I don't see them used that much. I'm sure good players use them, but I don't see them that much at my level of play. So that tells me they're not that good. Other loadouts that are really fun and really good. Then after a point, when I was really on the last night, I just started grinding. I started having a lot of fun in comp. And I just felt this determination. And I just played for like 6 hours straight of comp. And I kept getting to promotion series, losing, getting to another promotion series, losing. But I really felt like this determination. It was fun. And honestly, how I talked earlier about how I didn't want to play quick play. And I didn't want to play comp. I wanted to play quick play all the time. After this, it was like the reverse. It was like I didn't feel like playing quick play after that session because I felt so driven. I felt like I had such a goal in comp that once I got my glorious seals, like for a couple hours, like I felt like this I didn't really want to go in quick play because what's the point? You know, there's no goal. So I really started liking comp that last night. And and you know what really helped, what made it so much better, was in Bungie recently, they made all the matches go by a lot quicker. That helped a ton. It feels so much better now. They cut like Showdown from like 4 rounds 1 to 3. They cut Survival to like 3 rounds 1 from 5 or something like that. They made them all shorter. No, Showdown was like they cut the number of kills you need to win the round from 15 to 10, which the rounds never hardly go to kills anyway, so that one didn't affect that much. That tells me they were probably short enough anyway. But the other ones, they made Rift like a best first to 3 goals wins instead of first to 5. It feels so much better now. It feels so much better now. So yeah, comp started being a lot more fun after that too. At least I know like my matches aren't going to take an hour. If I lost the promotion series, hey, I can get back in a reasonable amount of time, you know? And then, so I just want to touch on a couple other loadouts I had a ton of fun with. Jade and Amit AR2. Yeah, oh, the last day of comp, what I started using, I couldn't do it anymore. I had to go with my Amit AR2. Like, I just needed something to get lead on targets. I didn't care. And Amit was just, I didn't even care what my other gun was. And that's what pretty much carried me to the Glorious the last day. Amit is really effective and it's really slept on. My crafted Amit AR2. I'll show you the perks on it. Tap the trigger, then sway, blah blah blah. Really good gun. That's the last night. Final push to Glorious. That's what put me over the top. Like I said, I barely even used my other one. I ran, honestly, the second one I used was to use a Contrition. And I would just use that for some long range capability on those rare occasions that came into play. And you can get a few kills here and there just by outranging people with a scout sometimes, because everybody's running pulses and hand cannons in this game. So every once in a while, you can just get some kills on somebody who tries to take you on with like a pulse at like 60 meters, you know, or 50 meters, just outside their range. And they just forget that, hey, some people run scouts in this game. I do it too. Or something. So it really almost didn't matter what my second gun was. You know, I was just using Amit mostly. I thought about even running a shotgun or anything, just anything to help me occasionally, because it was like 95% Amit. But what I actually ran was like to use a Contrition, because I trusted it. It's a decent gun. It's a scout rifle, and like I said, I gotta go long range because I'm old. So that's what I did. Amit carried me on my last day. It's a really good gun. It gets damaged out. You know, it's not always the best. It's not the fastest TTK, but like it's more about positioning with it. That's the one thing I gotta remember. It's not about your gun. It's about where you're at, your positioning. Amit is just a solid, reliable way to get damage downfield when you need damage downfield. It's not going to out TTK everything. It's not the flashiest or the rangiest. It's there when you need it. And that's what I needed at that point in time. And it got me over the hump. And then after that, in quick play, I found some really fun loadouts because I was experimenting, trying to find fun like I always do in quick play. And I was tired of these pulses. Didn't want to play Revision or Disparity again. So some of the loadouts I use like Amit and Jade. That's pretty brutally brutal. I like the Pulse Scout loadout. The Scout Amit loadout. And I've been running it a lot with Talons of the Eagle. I made another video about that. But Jade just like takes it to the next level. It recently got reactivated. So you see a lot in Crucible, so it's so good. It's like a cheat code. The only thing that's bad about it now is it always was, is the handling. It does feel like a truck, and the handling is pretty bad. I don't know. There's no way around that because it's just the way Bungie's never going to make a 150 Scout with good handling. That's just part and parcel to what 150 Scouts are. They have bad handling, unfortunately. So yeah, there's that. That's why I think Warlocks are cheap, man, with the Ophidian aspect. Because if you used Ophidian aspect in Jade Rabbit, so you didn't have to worry about handling, like, it'd be scary. Because I'm using it, like I say, it's incredibly effective. But the downside of it that you do feel is it's like playing with a brick, you know. But if you didn't have to even worry about that and your handling was good because of your exotic, I mean, jeez. That's why I say Ophidian aspects are a cheat code, man. They're not fair for warlocks to have that, and other classes don't. To be able to just wave your hand and mitigate handling completely as a factor is ridiculous. No wonder they have like 80% usage on warlocks. Yet they never get nerfed like Stompies, huh? Stompies, they nerfed them because they said, oh, too many hunters use them. They have like 70% class usage. But it's okay for warlocks to use only Ophidians, 80% of them for like 10 years. That's fine, no problem. Anyways, rant over. Other loadouts that I've been having tons of fun with. Yesterday I was just slaying out in quick play with this. I've had a love-hate relationship with yesteryear. I'll use it for a while. I'll think it's so fun and good. I'll hate it and realize I'm losing like every duel. And then I think it's a piece of trash and put it in the vault. But it's fun. So I took it out yesterday again. And gosh dang, it was slaying somehow. And I ended up with like a 1.5 KD over like 15 games in quick play. For me, that's unheard of. I'm a 1 KD. That's well, not unheard of, but I usually run about like 1.2 for long sessions in quick play. So to run a 1.5, and what I was running it with, Peace Bond, so effective. I tried this allied demand I had with Iron Reach and Rangefinder. It's like a super rangy roll. Not worth it. Peace Bond, I got these sidearms that are just so good. Like, again, these sidearms are like an unfair advantage because I have rangefinder on both of them. Peace Bond, and then this one doesn't have rangefinder, but it's really good just because this gun is really good. My roll is not necessarily really good. My forgiveness, it's so good. And then I have a last dance with rangefinder. All these are so good. These 3 burst Peace Bond last dance with rangefinder, they're like a cheat code, and same with forgiveness. They're all so good, man. So I run like Peace Bond, and yesterday I had so much fun with it. And I love these pulse models. Like going back to Destiny 1, I used to run, you know what my pulse jam was in Destiny 1? A pulse called PDX 45. Real OGs know. Back when we had Arms Day. Arms Day was this thing where, like, certain guns, you could get new rolls of them every week from the gunsmith. And, you know, you'd excitedly look forward to Arms Day. And so you could kind of, sort of like it was focusing before there was focusing. You could get more rolls on those guns. And one of the pulses was in the same, like, old Suros model pulse, same as yesteryear. There was one called Hawks. It was real famous in D1. It was real meta for a while. Now the same models in yesteryear, Gion 7, all the Suros pulses. But there's another one that I'm missing. But anyways, so I didn't like this pulse because I feel like Suros sights are broken and you can't aim precisely with them. The Suros slow 10 and slow 12 sights that you want to use anyway. But I took it out again. I had so much fun with it. The key, it's a lot of work though, but it was still super fun. But to me, the key with these Suros pulses, you want to run them snappy. And I don't care that it says it has 37 handling. The stats lie a lot. These feel so snappy. It's like Bygones. Bygones used to have like a poor handling stat, but it was so snappy. Same thing, and there's people running around with like the new SMG, the Ikelos SMG 1.3. And it'll have like 20 stability on it. And they'll show YouTube like that thing doesn't even move. Like the stats, sometimes, maybe it's in certain archetypes. Bungie lies with the stats sometimes. And I've always said this. This isn't a new thing for me. They lie with the stats sometimes. This thing has a handling 37. It is so snappy. I don't care what the handling stat says. But yeah, it's snappy. It's it's because of the gun model. It's so short and like effective. You know, it's short. It's not like, it's the opposite of like the Disparity and Revision 0 models. And the sight is so clean. And, oh man, it feels so good. It's not good at range. It's not good for dueling. That's one thing. You gotta figure you're gonna lose most of your duels. You're gonna lose your duels to a messenger. You're gonna lose your duels to a Disparity. So don't duel with it much. Like, what I try to do is run around, use my sidearm a lot. Not a lot, but if I'm close, and get positioning. If you can get positioning, if you can get players damaged, anything but a fair 1v1, because it's not great in a fair 1v1, basically. You gotta have the advantage on them. But it's like, but how do you do that? It's so snappy. You can switch back and forth to your sidearm in the yesteryear, back and forth like just in a blink. Like just run around, get position, get angles, get unfair fights where they're already wounded, where they're using a SMG to try to take you at 30 meters. You know, whatever you gotta do. And man, it is so fun. And I was slaying 1.5 KD over like 20 matches, you know. I had so much fun with it, so I'm back to like loving yesteryear. Probably in the next time I use it, I'll hate it, you know. This is my role that I use, and multi-kill clip is surprisingly good. It's been a while. I've sort of soured on kill clip. I used to run a lot of kill clip stuff, and now I'm more like, oh, like all these people that are like, I want like head seeker or something that's like consistent. But like, this was the first time in a little bit I've used a kill. You got to get in like a rhythm. You got to like use the kill clip all the time. To me, and you get in a rhythm, and you start to like just get in a rhythm with a kill clip part. This is multi-kill clip. It's not even kill clip. It only makes it do like 37 to the head, or it only does 32. I don't care, whatever the case. It's so like it's like you kill, get a reload. It pretty much fries on the next clip. Like I said, not as good as kill clip, but it's still nice. That's the one case I was just talking about where you don't want to duel people straight up with this gun generally. But you can once you get multi-clip going. Like, you're going to beat them then. So, you know, you duel with it when you get multi-kill clip going. Man, it was just so fun. I had so much fun with this. Like, I want to play it again. So, I'm back to loving yesteryear. Tune in the next video where I'm going to hate it. But for now, I love it. So much fun. So yeah, that's my whole hour-long video on how I went to Glorious and fun loadouts I'm using right now. I used Dark Decider a lot the last few days trying to make it work. It's trash. Don't use it. So yeah, that's my video. I got Glorious and I'm super happy about it. And those are just my loadouts that took me there. Amit took me there really. And Disparity to some extent. And Shayers to some extent, and Towns of the Eagle a little bit, and I didn't even use Messenger because it's so boring, and also I feel like, I don't know, it's a good option, but I just didn't use it. To use a Contrition contributed a little bit. You know, never used BXR, never used, these are all some of my favorite guns, but didn't use them, just didn't happen to use them. Yeah, so there you go. My heavy, I haven't even mentioned that. I would usually use Gallahorn if I wasn't using exotic, which the only exotic I'm using lately is Revision 0 anyway. Or sometimes I'd use maybe like Jade lately, or Mighty even. I didn't use Mighty really much in comp, if at all. I don't remember using it. I feel like mine is in a bad place on console right now. I mean, maybe it's different on PC, and people have been saying run it with the full auto mod, it's better. I don't know. But I feel like these, for scout rifles, and it pains me because I love scouts because I'm old, like I said. I'm originally a scout guy, and originally a Mida guy. But I feel like most scout archetypes are pretty lacking right now. I feel like this, they all have their strengths, I guess. But they all, the TTKs being too weak, really, you notice it after a while. Like, if you're in a hard line, like, I love Tears of Contrition and my Statico 46, and I love 180s, they feel really good. They're the only scout that doesn't have terrible stats, like, you can get high stability, the handling is not awful, like 61, so you can get good stats on a 180, but, and they got a damage buff, they're not terrible, but but I feel like you get in a hard lobby with a 180, they really struggle, you know. Any gun can do good and be fun against a bad lobby, but when you get in a good lobby with the 180, I feel like they struggle because that TTK is just too long. Even with, if you can get one with Rampage, which will make it 3-tap, I still don't see that happen very much though. But yeah, and I feel like really these 200s are not great. I feel like all the scouts are kind of a mediocre place. They have a faster TTK, but I don't like the damage profile. I just don't feel like they put out much damage, you know. The 150s are the best, but the problem with them is it's kind of Jade or bust, or Polaris Lance or bust. You need good stability, and none of the legendaries really have it. Like I said, unless you get a Zen Moment, decent stability legendary, which is rarer than Hen's Teeth. You're not getting it on Percy's D. You might get it on, yeah, there's just not much 150s in the legendary, and they're all trash pretty much, except this gun. It's the only not trash legendary scout. 150. I tried to make this work the other day. It's decent. Range is actually lacking on it. People say scout rifles have unlimited range. They're full of crap. If you get one with low range like this, you'll notice on Disjunction and Eternity and even Midtown, like you won't get crits at really long lanes. I noticed it. That's one nice thing about Talons is it has range to overcome pretty much any map. But yeah, so that's me. Try yesteryear. Oh, heavy. Oh, I forgot. So I just run Gallahorn most of the time. I have it awesome. This is the main excuse to talk about my awesome rocket launcher I got. Got it from Iron Banner. It's really good. It's got 100 blast radius, which is what you want on a PvP launcher. And it's got like a velocity, or this is a blast radius masterwork, I guess. But and it's got impulse amplifier, which is like a huge velocity boost. So these are exactly what you need. The only thing that prevents this from being like a perfect roll, from what I read, is like you can get this velocity stat higher, and apparently it does help. I thought this just cancels out velocity, but apparently it doesn't. You can still, like, this is still helpful to have more of. But I've been told, or I read a good pithy or a good concise comment on Reddit from someone who knows PvP launchers. They're basically, look, if you have 100 blast radius and you have impulse amplifier, that's a great PvP launcher. Like, beyond that, you want more velocity and stuff. But if you have this and this, you're good. And I have that and that. And the velocity's not even bad, you know. And yeah, it's pretty good. Like, always before, if I wasn't running Gallahorn, I felt like I was taking a big loss, you know. And I don't run any other heavies. I hate swords. Machine guns aren't worth it in today's meta, you know. I can't aim, so I can't use the linear fusion. I use these and they're fun, but to me, I can't ever make them work as good as a rocket launcher. When I get heavy and I have a rocket launcher, I feel like that's a certain kill, which is like which is like a big deal in comp. And with any other heavy, I don't feel like that's a certain kill, you know? So I go with these. Right or wrong, rocket launchers are my fave. And Gallahorn's the best one. Like I said, this Roar of the Bear is so good, and I'm proud of it. I just got an Iron Banner the other day. It's new. 38 opponents defeated, but it's really good with the impulse radius and the blast. So I'm really happy to have like a mainstay legendary launcher. I'll probably be using this thing for ages, you know. But unless I can get one in IB with impulse amplifier and even a higher velocity and a higher blast radius, is already 100. So yeah, so this is great. So I don't feel like I'm missing too much when I switch from Gallahorn to my legendary like I used to. I used to use like a hothead or something. I forget. I used to use probably like this, only 68 blast radius because it had impulse amplifier. Yeah, so now I got 100 blast radius. Anyways, so yeah, but I actually went back and forth, like, which one's better? Because I didn't know this had 100 blast radius. Okay, that's why it's a little better. Okay, so this one is better, but honestly, it's close, you know? Which is nice, but, so yeah. If I'm running an exotic, I don't feel like I'm missing much now. I just switch to my Roar of the Bear. Anyways, that's it. That's the video. An hour and 25 minutes. Probably a new record.